Welcome to another episode of Can It 4K with the GTX 1080. Today we're doing Battlefield 1, and I just wanted to show you guys that you can indeed play at 4K with a GTX 1080 on Battlefield 1. It's one of the newer titles that has been released recently in the gaming sphere, and I just wanted to show that the GTX 1080 does have the potential to do this. So if we dive into the settings and we go to video, as you can see, I'm running it at 4K, and we're also running it on ultra settings. I turned off anti-aliasing because you don't really particularly need it at 4K, and it doesn't really make that much of an impact because it's TAA. But either way, I turned it off just because I think if you're playing at 4K, you don't particularly need anti-aliasing, but that's just something that's a preference of mine. So I'll show you some campaign footage as well as some multiplayer footage. And I guess I just want to show the power of the GTX 1080 because it's currently really the only affordable option on the market, I guess, if you wanted to do 4K, since a Titan XP is a bit expensive at $1,000+. And it's not available in all regions, such as Australia. You can't actually get a Titan XP unless you import it, and then you pay duties, duty tax, and even more money on top just to get the card that is, I guess, the best one out there. So until a GTX 1080 Ti comes out, this is the best thing that we have, and we're gonna have to make do. So I'll show you some campaign footage right now. So here we are in the campaign. In this little segment, as you can see, we've dropped to around about 55, 54 FPS, but this is just the scripted sequence that happens. And after that, as you can see, we're in about 60 FPS territory. Now, if you'll notice, my GTX 1080 is running at 1924 megahertz. You can see it in the top left-hand corner of the screen. And, you know, I haven't overclocked it or anything like that, so it's just running off GPU boost. There's no memory overclock either, which could give us some gains in terms of frame rate. But as you can see, we're holding, within the 60s and the 50s. I don't think it's really that bad, and this is all ultra, so I mean, this is a pretty good kind of demonstration of what you can expect with the GTX 1080 at 4K. Now, of course, if you had a Titan XP, it'd probably be a lot better because you'd be maybe low 70s, maybe high 70s. Whereas now you're in kind of the 60 to 55 territory. And I mean, that's a problem, but it's not going to be too bad. I mean, considering you could be playing on a PS4 Pro, which has even worse frame drops and just even worse performance overall, I mean, that isn't so bad in comparison to this. But will it play multiplayer? Because as we know, multiplayer is a whole lot different to the campaign. And to be honest, I think it's okay, this type of performance, but I wanted to show you what would happen if you drop the settings to high in multiplayer. So here we are in Battlefield 1 multiplayer, and I just wanted to show you that when I go to the settings, of course, I have everything on ultra right now, but we're going to turn it all down to high. So instead of using the high preset because it has anti-aliasing TXAA, I'm just going to turn everything down to high and turn off the AA, because I don't think you particularly need it. And as you can see, we're going to get frame rates in about the mid to the low 60s, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. I'm running this game with a 7700K, so in terms of any CPU bottlenecks, they shouldn't be encountered here since we're in the low 60s and we're playing at 4K, so really the bottleneck is on the GPU here. Other than me dying to a sniper rifle, you can see that the game is running perfectly fine, very acceptable. Like I said, again, if you're playing on a PS4 Pro or even what I would think would be an Xbox Scorpio, you're not going to get this level of performance out of it, and they're going to be using some sort of render upscale to basically give you that type of performance and that image quality. So what you're getting here is true 4K, and it's probably the best experience. And alright, killed him. Yeah, what I was trying to say is, yeah, you're getting the best experience that you can out of this GPU. So we're going to turn the settings back up to ultra very, very soon, and you're going to see that in a more demanding area with a lot more smoke and fog and things going on, that the GTX 1080 is able to keep that 60 FPS or close to it very, very easily. So I've been playing the game a little bit more, and I got to a more demanding area, and we're going to turn all the settings back up to ultra and keep that AA off. and you're going to see that the frame rate doesn't change all that much. So in terms of visual quality, like I said, if you find some settings that look better than others and don't impact performance as much, you can use them. But again, we're here in low 60s territory, and it's perfectly playable. I didn't really encounter any problems. I play CSGO at about 400 FPS, and I don't like any type of stuttering when I'm playing games. But as you can see here, we're in the low 50s, but we jump back up to the 60 FPS region. And there's a lot of explosions, particle effects, fire going on. And I think if you tune a couple of the settings and run this maybe on high and a combination of high and ultra, you're going to have a very satisfying experience. Not satisfying if you're blowing up all the time like me, but as you can see, it is working perfectly fine. You are going to have some of those frame rate drops every now and again, but it's nothing too drastic. Like I said, if you're into the enthusiast market, I would still say wait for a 1080 Ti, but these are going to flood the market soon because a 1080 Ti is on the way. So picking up a very cheap used GTX 1080, if I would recommend not going for an EVGA one just because of the problems, but if you do pick one up, it's going to be a very, very good video card. And if you have maybe like a 1440p monitor, I would say that's the sweet spot for the GTX 1080. Obviously 4K isn't the best kind of option when you're playing with this video card, but it's not particularly the worst one either. So that's all for today, guys. Like I said, yeah, Ultra can't really do it all that well. It is in the very high 50s, low 60s, but if you do get that combination, you can definitely play with a GTX 1080 at 4K. Another thing, just before we go, is that again, this video card isn't overclocked. It's just running off GPU boost. And as you can see, it's running at about 1911 megahertz at 72 degrees Celsius. So this does show that if maybe you overclock another 200 megahertz to 2100, if your video card can do that, and you do a bit of a memory overclock, you could certainly hit, I would say, a solid high 60s or low 60s with the GTX 1080 at 4K in this game. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. To everyone on the NVIDIA Reddit, I'm sorry for making such a long-winded, boring video, but this is kind of an exercise that we have to go through, I think, to kind of understand how good of a video card the GTX 1080 is. That's all for today. Like, comment, and subscribe, and if you want another episode of Can It 4K, tell me in the comment section below and request a game and I'll try and do it. Thanks for watching.